Hey everybody, ronarray here, and in 0.3, GG made craft significantly easier. So right now, you can craft a lot of various items without bothering too much. So in this video, I wanted to showcase how you can craft all my armor, starting with body armor, going with helmet, and pretty nice boots and gloves. Boots and gloves are more expensive, and body armor and helmet much more basic at the moment. I'm going to showcase the process for every item. Some of the craft could be a little more expensive, some of the crafts could be a little less expensive, depending on the current market situation. I'm going to talk about that, so please use the timestamps if you're interested in any particular items. That guide is obviously going to work for Monk or for Deadeye or for practically any character that requires at the moment Energy Shield and Evasion bases together. Let's go, and I will be able to explain how you can do that. So first off, let's talk about the bases. For almost all craft at the moment, you will need to buy bases. And to get a base, you will need to get your item name. For example, for helmet is going to be Ancestral Tiara on the website. Also make sure that item level is at least 78 or 79 for average crafts, and for expensive crafts such as boots and gloves, I just recommend to get like exceptional bases. I will talk about that a little later. Item rarity also should be normal because you don't want to waste Orb of Annulments to pretty much fix those items. So just get item levels 79 or 78 and normal base. So I'm also putting buyout price for exalted orbs to not get spammed with like irrelevant items, but you can use any kind of currency that works because people are pretty often selling those base for Val orbs. So first off, let's start with the helmets, because helmets is a very basic craft and there's not a lot of things to it. So first off, you will need to get bases perfectly, they will be like level 80, 79 and higher. And after that, you will need to click all your bases with perfect orb of transmutation. So just click all of them, nothing special. And you will need to pick a particular bases which rolled energy shields. For example, that one is good because we have tier 1 energy shield. That one failed because there is life. That one with the resistance will stay too. Rarity is alright. And more energy shield is alright too. If you're getting life or multiple like energy shield and mana or energy shield and life, those bases are not really good. The one with life and life regeneration I'm usually just throwing away, but you can also try and reforge them if you want. Most of the time when you're going to reforge bases, you're going to receive a pretty bad result in the end, so I wouldn't focus on that. However, we can pretty much try it, and as you can see, it's giving us a pretty bad modifier, so we're probably going to destroy that base anyway. Now, let's go back to the bases that kind of worked out. We need to click them with perfect orb of augmentation at least once and see what we got. So for example, that base is pretty good, we have like rarity and cold resistance. That base rolled mana, so it's kinda bad, and that base is absolutely perfect. So as you can see, we have maximum energy shield and lightning resistance. Most of the time, I recommend you to focus on resistances, rarity and energy shield. Perfectly, you should have an energy shield up right here and lightning resistance down here. So bases with mana and stuff like that probably still could be crafted, but I'm usually not spending much currency for them, so we can just going to move them aside right now. That is our perfect base. So after that, you will need to use an essence for that particular situation. So for the bases like that, usually you just need to pick what do you want on that item. For example, I currently have lightning resistance and energy shield. That base is pretty good. And we can use essence to add additional resistance, or we can add rarity. I usually prefer to add more resistances because it's going to help a lot, and since we already have lightning resistance, I think I'm going to add fire. So just click your successful helmet with essence. Thus, those essences are pretty cheap and it's not a big issue. Just click it and we have like double resistance at the moment. That's perfect. So out of other helmets, I would say that one will not be good because we already have like rarity and cold resistance. It will be hard to get energy shield in there, and I would consider that a failed craft. You can still click it with rarity essence to get like 50% rarity helmet if you want it, or maybe sell it, but unfortunately we will not get a lot of energy shield for it. So I'm usually just moving those aside. And that one could still be crafted, but reduced attribute requirements is pretty much a dead mode. So keep in mind, if you roll the dead mode as a second option, you might want to stop there and just focus on other bases which are successful. Usually, to get a helmet like that with like double resistances and tier 1 energy shield, you will need to spend like from 10 maybe to 20 bases depending on your luck, just clicking them with perfect orb of transmutation and then perfect orb of augmentation. But it's perfect that we have that ancestral tiara right here and we can continue the craft. So to continue the craft, we will need to lock suffixes. To do so, we are going to use Omen of Dextral Necromancy because it costs practically nothing. It's going to guarantee that our desecration is going to give the suffix on the item. So just right click it, get one preserved rib ready and pretty much just click your item. So right here we have suffixes locked. And that's a perfect condition for us. Because right now we can use 2 more omens to make sure that we'll have more energy shield there. So here it is, we have like ready tiara with completely done suffixes and open prefix. For that, we are going to use Omen of Homogenizing Exaltation, together with Omen of Greater Exaltation. Omen of Greater Exaltation will make sure that our next Exalted Orb is going to add 2 modifiers instead of 1. It's going to save us money. And Omen of Homogenizing Exaltation is going to make sure that modifiers that are added will have the same type as the modifiers that we already have. And the only modifier that we have is pretty much defense modifier, which is like energy shield up there. So for it, we just need to take Omen of Homogenizing together with Greater Exaltation and just click it with Greater Exalted Orb. Most of the time, if you're crafting on a budget, I recommend to just use Greater Exalted Orb. But if you want like better chances to have a better helmet in general, I recommend you to go and use Perfect Exalted Orb. It's going to be much more expensive, but there are much better chances to hit something good. However, if you're on budget, let's just use Greater Exalted Orb together with Homogenizing Exaltation and Greater Exaltation. So I'm clicking it and receiving 1 tier 1 defense and 1 tier 3 energy shield. Unfortunately, it's not really a good result, but I would say it's kinda alright at the moment. After that, we are adding the socket and adding iron rune inside. You can add armor scrap if you're going to use it yourself, but generally we have approximately like 400 energy shield, which is not completely horrible. And there's only one thing left, it's pretty much unveiling the last bonus. So right here you can use Omen for reroll, because that's going to make sure for 60 exalteds that you will not have a bad mod. However, I recommend to use that only if you have a pretty decent energy shield on your helmet, like at least 450, 460, maybe closer to 500. Because if you have just 400 at the moment, there is not a big point to go for it. You will just spend more currency and the result is not going to be that amazing. So after that, you can just teleport and just unveil the item that you got. If you will not have a reroll, you will have only 3 attempts and it will be completely up to the luck. So for example here I have like A-star and intelligence, which is not amazing but still could be nice for many builds. If you're interested in accuracy, you can take it too, or you can take stats instead. So that craft is very cheap because you're practically only paying for Homogenizing Exaltation and a few essences together with a base. You're paying about 150 exalteds at best for an attempt, and it's pretty easy to make it back after you crafted at least a few helmets like that. So here is another example of the helmet that I crafted using that way. So pretty much there's like cold resistance, rarity, fire resistance and 553 energy shield because I got pretty lucky with tier 1 modifiers. Such helmet could cost up to like 15-20 divines at the moment, and it's definitely worth at least a few attempts, especially since you can control what kind of resistance is going to be on the item, and also get like rarity, for example. So that looks more like a very mediocre if not failed attempt, and that looks like a very good attempt that I definitely like at the moment. Now let's talk about body armors. And for body armors, the process is pretty much the same as with helmets, but body armors are a little trickier and usually require more attempts and more bases in general. So you're buying basic bases like level 80, level 78 approximately, and clicking them with perfect orb of transmutation. You're looking forward to get like some resistances, for example that one works, and that one works as well. The ones that rolled life or reduced attribute requirements or anything but like that are pretty much going out of the question. You can just reforge them again or just throw them, because reforging is usually not giving you a lot of results. So after you got at least two, so here for example I have like double tier 2 fire resistances, you need to click them with perfect orb of augmentation and hope to hit tier 1 energy shield. So here is a tier 1 energy shield, which is a very good result, and I think we can continue working with that body armor. So that one unfortunately will not work out because we have life again. So in that case we have like fire resistance, we have a very nice prefix with additional defenses. Make sure that you don't have like life or mana, because otherwise it could ruin your homogenizing exaltation click. Since we have fire resistance, our next step is going to be to add like lightning to it. So clicking it with one essence and using Omen of Dextral Necromancy again, as I already showcased, with one preserved rip. That way we have guaranteed locked suffixes and open prefixes. It's looking pretty nice, so homogenizing exaltation and greater exaltation again. And here you're definitely choosing what do you want to do again. If you want to get like better body armor, you're looking forward to craft very good one, I recommend you to use perfect Exiled Orb, because it will give you significantly more chances to hit better modifiers, just like for tier 1. However, if you're crafting on a budget or you just want to do more attempts in general, I recommend to just click Greater Exalted Orb. So here it is, homogenizing, Greater Exaltation, and we have double prefixes here and we are clicking. So that's what we got in the end. It's like tier 1, and tier 4. Unfortunately, tier 4 is not that good. However, it still can have a pretty decent amount of energy shield. It will be like approximately 1000. Body armors are pretty tricky, so please keep that in mind. Rolling a lot of tier 1s for your body armor is pretty hard. So if you don't want to do a lot of attempts, I heavily recommend you to just buy body armor instead, because it could be cheaper at the moment. There's a lot of failed crafts on the market, but if you want to craft it yourself, you can just keep redoing the bases until you will get more lucky, or using perfect Exalted Orbs, because that way you will have more chances. But keep in mind your budget, because attempts could get expensive with time. And after we got that, we just need to check the modifier. And since that craft is not looking amazing, we have only 1000 evasion rating and 400 energy shield, I'm not going to use additional Omen to reroll attempts. So I'm just going to unveil it as it is and take like cold and chaos resistances probably. So it's very easy to get triple resistance on the body armor. However, getting tier 1 defenses is pretty hard and usually requires a lot of attempts. So since the previous attempt wasn't that good, here's another example of body armor crafted that way. It got significantly more lucky because it got like triple tier 1 defenses, which is pretty nice, and also deflection rating. Deflection is not really necessary and you can just get like resistances, but if you will have it, it will definitely be better. So if you will add like quality to that body armor, it will be approximately 1300, and we still have a desecration to unveil. While unveiling, it would be nice to just search for nice resistances. So for example, those options are bad, but we used a reroll Omen, so that's why we can reroll and get like lightning and chaos resistance, which is not too necessary for the build at the moment, but still pretty nice, especially if you're not playing chaos inoculation. Keep in mind that most of those crafts are pretty simple, and if you're aiming to hit like much harder body armor, you will probably need to use a little different approach and desecrating prefix instead. Now let's talk about a little harder craft. So for the gloves, we will need to get a base called Val Wraps. And on that base, we will need to get like attack speed together with some flat damage and 100% increased effect of socketed items. It's not really too hard, but preparing that base could be costly. Craft can cost from 10 up to 30 divines approximately, so make sure that you have enough budget to attempt it. Here I'm going to showcase how you can do that. First off, you need to start with getting just the base itself. For the base, you will need to get Val Wraps, level 79 or higher, with double rune sockets, so it should be exceptional and not corrupted. Such bases usually cost about 16 or both annulments. I recommend to overpay a little and get like higher item level to make sure that everything is going to be alright. So you can get 80 or even 81 level. That way you will pay about 18 orb of annulments for the base itself. After you acquire that base, you will need to click it with Regal Orb and use Orb of Annulment at least once on that base, so there will be only one modifier left. After you have only one modifier left, here's an example, you will need to start clicking it with Chaos Orbs until you will hit one of the three options: plus 2 melee levels, rarity, or attack speed. All of those are pretty good. I'm going to focus on the attack speed because for Hollow Palm build, attack speed is the main thing, but you can sell bases with plus 2 melee or with rarity on the market for a pretty decent amount of currency if you hit it, up to like 15-20 divines in cases, so make sure that you will stop at that point, sell the base and maybe start again until you will get attack speed. So your base at that moment should practically look like this. So after you got it, and you have like just wraps with increased attack speed, you will need Omen of Sinister Exaltation and Omen of Greater Exaltation to just add double prefixes. It doesn't matter what kind of prefix is going to be added, we're going to use them just as a fuel for our essence. So just click it with Sinister Exaltation and Greater Exaltation without a lot of issues, so here we have like double prefixes. So right here, you will need to use two pretty expensive essences, and that together with Chaos Click is one of the most expensive parts of the craft itself. Essence of Hysteria together with Essence of Horror. Essence of Horror is just like very important because it will give you 100% increased effect of socketed items. So if you're going to use Talisman of Sirius later on in your gloves, that's a very important part of it. So you will need to use those two essences together with Omen of Sinister Crystallization. Omen of Sinister Crystallization will guarantee that both essences will only remove prefixes, and both our prefixes are pretty useless. So we're clicking Sinister Crystallization here and using Essence of Horror first, and after that Essence of Hysteria second. That way we have gloves with completely finished suffixes. You have attack speed, effect of socketed items, and increased critical damage bonus. So now, when we finished suffixes, we need prefixes perfectly with tier 1, tier 2 flat damage on the gloves. To get that, we will need to use Preserved Reap on the wraps themselves right now. It doesn't matter which we are going to fill because we already have like filled suffixes, so it's going to be a prefix. We're going to try and unveil accuracy here, because accuracy need to be blocked. That's the only way how we can make sure that when we are clicking that with Perfect Exalt Orb later, we will not have accuracy on the item. So we are going to use Omen of Abyssal Ikas together with the gloves that I currently have, go to the Well of Souls, and perfectly we need to hit accuracy. If it's going to be pretty unlucky for me at the moment, we will not hit accuracy and instead we will need to pick some other option. So right here we have accuracy rating and that's absolutely perfect. As you can see, we also have like just damage, flat damage already. But instead we still need to pick accuracy, because blocking accuracy is a very important part of that craft. Otherwise we can get accuracy from Perfect Exalt, we will be unable to move it from the item and the craft will fail. So if you don't have accuracy, try to pick flat damage instead, but it will be much more risky for you. If you have accuracy, that's just perfect. So I'm just confirming accuracy at the moment, and that's exactly how it should go. So here, everything goes exactly as planned. We have gloves with blocked accuracy, and we will need to use homogenizing exaltation together with greater exaltation, and perfect exalted orb. So since accuracy is an attack modifier, when we will click the item with perfect exalted orb, we're going to get flat damages. It could be from tier 4 to tier 1, so it's pretty random, and here we are going to completely rely on our luck. So let's click it and see what we will get. Here it goes, and we got like fire and physical, tier 3 and tier 4. Not too good, it could be better, but it's still alright, especially since physical is kinda useful for Hollow Palm build at the moment. So after that, we still have accuracy on the item, right? So we will need to get rid of it. For it, we are going to use just Omen of Light. That way our Orb of Annulment is going to delete accuracy, so desecrated option. Just activate Omen of Light, click item with Orb of Annulment, and accuracy is gone. And another pretty important moment, just for the gloves themselves. If you want a bigger chance to hit it, I recommend to use Ancient Reap, because it's going to give you higher minimum modifier level, and it will be much easier for you at the moment to get your desired damage. It costs about 1 divine at the moment, but since gloves is a pretty expensive craft, I think it's absolutely worth to desecrate gloves with Ancient Reap. You can use a normal Reap too, as I already showcased, but there's a chance that you're not going to hit the desired modifier. So let's use Ancient Reap at the moment, together with Omen of Abyssal Echoes, and unveil the gloves that we currently have. So here we have a pretty nice level modifiers, but unfortunately all of them are defensive. And here we have a lightning damage to attacks, exactly what we need at the moment. Unfortunately the tier is pretty low, but it's still working for the gloves, and you can literally try to recraft that part. However, even like that, gloves are working pretty great because you have triple flat damage, double sockets, and increased effect of sockets, together with increased attack speed and critical damage bonus. So now let's talk about the boots. And for the boots, situation is very similar with gloves. First off, you'll need to buy a base. Base is approximately 20-21 Orb of Annulments right now. It should be exceptional, so double socket in the same fashion as you got with gloves, and should have a pretty high evasion. So Drake Skin Boots is working absolutely perfect for it. When you got the base, you will need to click it just with Orb of Transmutation and with a regular orb. After that, click it with Orb of Annulment, so only one modifier left, and start clicking it with Chaos Orbs until you will hit Deflection, exactly in the fashion that I'm showcasing right now. Deflection could be like tier 2, it's absolutely alright, and you can just proceed with the craft when you have Deflection. In the same fashion as with gloves, clicking it with Chaoses could be pretty expensive, but on average you should spend like 2-3 divines approximately to hit it if your luck is alright, based on the weight of the modifier. So now let's work on the boots, and I will explain what you will need to do after you got Deflection. It's going to be pretty simple and very similar to what we got with the gloves. First off, we're going to use Omen of Sinistral Exaltation to make sure that we're adding a prefix, and click our boots with one random Exalted Orb. So here we got our prefix. After it, we can use Omen of Sinistral Crystallization together with Essence of Horror to make sure that Essence of Horror is going to remove the prefix, and we are going to receive the most important bonus on the boots, 100% increased effect of socketed items. After that, we will need to finish our suffixes, because we already have like double suffix with Deflection and increased effect of socketed items. Perfectly, we would need like Rarity or Resistances, both are going to work just fine. So for it, we will need to use Omen of Dextral Necromancy and click it with Reap. Generally, I recommend to use Ancient Reap to make sure that you're not getting too bad of the result, and I think it's much safer right now, but you can also use a normal Reap to save currency if you want to literally risk it. So clicking it with Ancient Reap with a basic orb, and we have like +1 suffix. After that, use Omen of Abyssal Echoes, and we're just going to reveal the option to see what exactly we rolled. If the roll is going to be bad, we can always spend Omen of Light and change it, however, it would be great if we can hit it from one go. So here, for example, we can take like Fire and Chaos Resistance, but if you're playing CI, you can literally reroll and try to get something else. Right now I'm going to take Fire and Chaos Resistance because it's a pretty normal option, especially if you're not playing CI at the moment. If your craft is not really working that good for your build, for example, and you're getting the resistance that you don't really want, you can always just sell it and craft another boots for yourself a little later. So, since suffixes are done already, we now need to add prefix. It could be any prefix because we're still going to replace it with Essence of Hysteria. So let's just click it with Random Exalted, we got like mana, which is absolutely fine, and we're using Omen of Sinister Crystallization to remove prefix and get our movement speed in. So here it is, we got like movement speed, deflection, increase effect of socketed, and some resistances, which is pretty good. So now let's finish the boots. We will need to use Omen of Greater Exaltation together with Omen of Homogenizing Exaltation, all of them together, and we will need to click the boots with Perfect Exalted Orb. At the moment we can get more movement speed modifiers and we can get Essence modifier or resistances. That will lead to last modifier, defenses, be used as an example for Omen of Homogenizing Exaltation. So we're going to receive just defenses from Perfect Exalted Orb. Let's click it, and here they are. We got like both tier 1 evasion rating, which is absolutely awesome. I also rolled both of them like 100 and 142, so it's like very, very good. For example, if we're going to just add Iron Runes, amount of evasion we can get out of those boots is absolutely insane. So you can have like 1169 evasion just from the boots together with deflection rating and bonuses from the runes. It's almost as good as my triple socketed option because it just rolled better in general. So you can also corrupt it to reach a last socket, but it could be pretty risky at moments. So here is the set that we ended up with. Most of this craft took me like 50 divines for all the items approximately. You can definitely get it cheaper, and the most part of the price, like biggest one, comes from gloves and boots, because both of those crafts are kinda expensive. So here is the set that we ended up with. I crafted it for pretty cheap, and only gloves and boots crafts are expensive. For body armors you just need a lot of attempts, and helmet is probably the easiest item to craft because it's hitting very, very often. So that's about 553 energy shield helmet, together with like resistances, rarity, which is very nice. For the body armor we have like deflection rating, some resistances too, and a pretty decent amount of evasion and energy shield. It could be a little better, but I think even like that it's working because we're still hitting tier 1. For the gloves, I think we ended up with a very nice amount of attack speed, even if flat damage rolled not that good. Most of that is like tier 3, tier 4, but that's a pretty random option. I can always sell those and just do another pair of gloves, and I think there's a pretty decent chance that I will get like better flat options. And the last part is the boots. I think boots right now are absolutely amazing because of very good evasion rating rolls. Both of them are tier 1 and perfectly rolled. Together with deflection, socketed items, and resistances, I think those boots should be very, very expensive at the moment, and such stats are pretty rare. At the current market, I would definitely recommend to at least craft helmet, gloves and boots. And body armor is kinda questionable because you usually need a lot of attempts to hit it, and it's kinda tricky. Keep that in mind while crafting, and make sure that you have enough budget to finish both gloves and boots. If at some moment you don't have enough budget and you can't finish the craft, just lay it to the side, wait a little and come back to it when you will have enough. Hope it will be able to help you to get items for your build as well. Feel free to hit me with any questions on my Twitch stream as well, and see you next time. ronarray out.